Hi, this video is part of my complete Docker and Kubernetes course. The link is in the description of the video, so make sure to give a thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss any updates, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's get started. Hello and welcome back. Let's continue developing the routes of our notebook's backend. Make sure that you have your Compose project up and running at the root of the directory, so at the Nodes REST API folder, and that all the services are up and able to process the requests. Let's then define a couple of routes here. Let me add a couple of comments so that we know the routes we would like to define. So first, we would like to create new notebooks. This is going to be a post request to the endpoint / like so. We then would like to retrieve all notebooks. Retrieve all notebooks, and that's just going to be a GET request to, once again, the root of this router. We can then create or update a single notebook. That's going to be a PUT request to the notebook ID. So the request would look something like this: localhost :8080 /API /notebooks / and then here some -ID. We then would like to also get a single notebook. So let's say here retrieve a single notebook. That's going to be a GET request to, once again, the endpoint with the ID here. And then we also would like to delete a single notebook. Delete a single notebook is just going to be the delete request, or using the delete method, also to a specific notebook's endpoint with this ID provided in the URL. Let's then quickly create these routes and we will start populating them. So we're going to have a post request to the / here. That's going to have also the request and the response. And then we're going to populate the body of this function a little bit later on. We already have the get here. Let's remove the body because we're going to change this. Let's then get also a specific notebook by ID. We would also then like to update a notebook by ID and to delete a notebook also by ID. Since we will be dealing with database operations, then all these handlers here, they will need to perform asynchronous operations. Let's mark them all with async so that we can use the async await syntax here. Let's then start with the body for the post handler. Let's wrap this in a try-catch statement so that in case there are any errors here, we can just return a nice message to our client. I'm just going to say response.status of 500 in case there is any error. And I will just send the JSON here informing error.message, right? So just something like this. Perfect. Within the try block here, we would then like to extract both the name and the description from the body of the request. So that's going to be request.body. And then we would like to validate this because the name is a mandatory field. So if there is no name, we would immediately return here response.status of 400.json, and then we'll simply inform error. And we will say here name is required. We can also say here name field is required. Let's save this. And if we pass this if here, so if we do not enter this condition, that means our function will not return. Let's then just create our notebook. So notebook will be equal to new notebook. And then we will pass both the name and the description here. We also need to import the notebook at the top. So let's say const notebook is equal to require from the same directory /models like so. Let's scroll down a little bit. And then after we have created the model here, or the instance of the notebook, we then would like to await notebook.save. So this is the actual operation that will persist the notebook in the database. And once this happens, we're going to say response.status. We're going to set a status of 201. And then we will send the body here. We're going to say data, and that's just going to be our notebook. If you wish to pick a couple of individual fields here from the notebook, then feel free to do so. But for us, let's just return here the information that Mongoose populates for us. Awesome, that's it for creating a new notebook. We can jump to Postman and try to send a post request here. Let's then set the body. So let's click on body, raw, and then let's select JSON. In my case, it's already selected here. Let's then just send a request with an empty body, and we can confirm that we are already getting the error here and a status of bad request, and that's amazing. If we were to now send the body here and define the name, and we're just going to say here my notebook, and then we can also provide a description here. Will simply be, let's say, my first notebook, like so. Let's then send this request, and we can confirm that we get back here the response, including the notebook and its ID. That's great. So our post method is working. Let's now implement quickly the get method to retrieve all the notebooks from our database. Within the IDE, let's scroll down a little bit more to the get method here. And this get method will be slightly smaller than the post method. So let's just once again wrap this in a try-catch statement. And if you are once again already familiar with Express and you wish to extract this to a common middleware to handle this error, then by all means feel free to do so. I'm gonna keep it simple here. Let's just copy and paste and send back the error message here in case something goes wrong. We can then within our try block simply say notebooks is equal to await notebook.find, and then we will not pass any kind of filters here. That means that Mongoose will retrieve all the documents here. Let's then simply return response.status of 200. You don't need to set this status explicitly if you are just sending back a JSON here. So you could also say res.json like so. That is exactly the same as what we are doing. Let's then use data here, and we will simply return the notebooks array. Perfect. Let's save this and let's double check in Postman that we can retrieve all the notebooks. Back here in Postman, let's change the request method to get, and let's send this, and then we can confirm that we get our notebook back. Perfect. So both notebook creation and retrieving all the notebooks is working as expected. Let's take a short break and come back in the next lecture to continue with the implementation.